Joburg and the Johannesburg Road Agency are expected to give an update on the explosion that claimed at least one life and injured scores of people, with the government in Gauteng appealing for assistance in a bid to establish the cause of the blast. The Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, says gas experts have been brought in to assist with investigations. Ziniko Mhlaba is tracking this development for us. So Ziniko, you'll tell us why this briefing has been delayed a little bit, but you're also standing by to speak to someone that does a lot around town planning and taking a look at cities in decay.
That's right, Jerusalem. Well, it seems as if the executive mayor and the premier himself have been delayed, according to what we are being told. So the briefing might be delayed. However, at this particular point, do you want to explore the state of the city of Johannesburg in terms of town planning, but also the age and the maintenance of the infrastructure itself? And I've got with me an expert in that field, Prof. Harrison, right here at the University of Witwatersrand. Prof, thank you very much, sir, for your time. You are dealing with a very, very serious issue here, an explosion, a blast, whatever you can call it, and government are trying to find a particular cause of this particular incident. But I think it will also be fair to look at the broad state of the city itself in terms of its infrastructure and the vulnerability of the city to such programs.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. It's a pleasure to talk to you, even though about such a terrible event. So I think we need to start with the fact that we're talking about infrastructure, some of which goes back to the late 19th century. You know that Johannesburg gold was discovered in 1886, and indeed Johannesburg was proclaimed that year, and it all started really in and around the current inner city. And going back to 1895, some of the rudimentary infrastructure was put in place, some lighting, some basic water systems. A lot of the modernized infrastructure was put in the 1920s and the 1930s. The gas works set up in 1928. So some of the infrastructure goes back 80, 90, 100 years or more. The last major developments in the inner city were in the 1970s. Carlton Centre was developed in the early 1970s, but that's more than 50 years now. So we're talking about old infrastructure. Of course, there has been some patching over the years, some replacement of the infrastructure. So it's really a complex story of infrastructure beneath the city, layered on each other, of different periods. But a lot of the infrastructure is indeed very old.
Yeah. Talk to us then about the maintenance of this infrastructure from your academic work and research work. Do you think enough has been done, as you are saying, that some of the infrastructure is over a century old? How important, how crucial is maintenance? And how has it been done, or it's been done in any way?
Yes, thank you very much. In fact, Johannesburg is not really a very old city. There are many cities that are a lot older than Johannesburg. So the issue really is not the age of the city, but the age of the infrastructure. And the engineers, I'm not an engineer, but the engineers tell us that many of these infrastructures should be replaced every 20 to 30 years. And here we're talking about a city where infrastructures may be over 50, 60, 70 years. So the question is not so much the age of the city, but it's whether there has been refurbishment, maintenance, replacement. And I think to a large extent we know the answer to that. And we're facing the consequences.
I mean, then the issue of identifying the infrastructure that has not been maintained adequately. Do we have that capacity? Do we even know some of the infrastructure underneath us?
So we do now have technologies. There's 3D scanning technologies, there's electromagnetic technologies, the laser technologies that do allow you to explore the subterranean belt of the city and begin to map the assets that you have under the ground. But Johannesburg's really got a long way to go. We still don't have an asset register for our infrastructure. There might be some knowledge within the brains of individuals working in our different utilities, but there's nothing integrated that has come together and says this is the map of the infrastructure that we have. And so we really have to work using the technologies available towards an integrated mapping of the infrastructure and the quality of the infrastructure, especially in a part of the city like at the inner city where the infrastructure is the oldest in the city.
Thank you very much, Prof. Harrison, there for your time and your insights. I appreciate it.
More than a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. That's Prof. Harrison here at the University of the Witwatersrand, giving us an insight on issues that relate to the state of the infrastructure and the dangers that puts us as citizens here in Johannesburg, especially those residing in the city centre, stating and saying that the oldest infrastructure is likely to be found in the Johannesburg city centre, where such explosions, such incidents such as the one we saw yesterday taking place here in Gauteng in the city centre.
Ziniko Mhlaba, thank you very much for that report.